you have folks out there that think that Doug Pederson was a bit truculent or whatever. This is nonsense. I thought the man was very respectful. Listen, all he's doing is telling the reporters, you can ask me this 1,000 times. Do you have any idea? You're talking to a guy that worked in Philadelphia for 17 years, writing for the Philadelphia Inquirer, okay? The town is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal sports town. The paper does a great job covering the team. The media does a great job of covering their teams. We all know that. We are going to ask those questions. I cannot tell you how many times this man has been asked about Carson Wentz. Doug Pederson is a football coach. He is not a doctor. This man got injured December 10th with the ACL. What does Nick Foles come in there and do? He sits up there, plays lights out in the postseason, wins a Super Bowl championship and a Super Bowl MVP, and everybody is sweating bullets as if it's time to hit the panic button if Carson Wentz ain't ready for week 1. Jay Ajayi is still there. Corey Clement is still there. Alshon Jeffrey is still there. Nelson Aguilar is still there. Zach Ertz is still there. Their offensive line is considered one of the best in football. Their defensive line is no joke. Their defense is expected to be upgraded. They are the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. Yeah. It is the preseason. This guy is clearly going to be ready, Carson Wentz, that is. We just don't know whether it's going to be week 1 or week 3 or whatever. And the reigning Super Bowl MVP is who you have as a security blanket. But my God, stop the presses. That is a reason to be in panic mode. It is as pathetic as it gets. As far as I'm concerned, it's a non-issue. I don't blame Doug Pederson for reacting that way one bit, because in the end, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting across from a guy that doesn't even believe any starter should play in any preseason game. Okay? So if you don't believe they should play in any preseason game, why are you sweating how they've looked in preseason?
I'm not sweating how they look.
It doesn't make any sense.
Preseason. Why am I the only one who has this one right? Either when we talk about this, I'm arguing with someone who thinks the sky is falling for the Eagles, or I'm arguing with someone saying there's no cause for concern at all. There's a little cause for concern if you're an Eagles fan right now. There is.
Zero.
First of all, not talent-wise. Talent-wise, you're absolutely right. The team is loaded with talent, both sides of the ball, and they have an excellent coach. But is there reason for concern? Will Carson Wentz? When does Carson Wentz start? Right? That's number one. Because Nick Foles running RPOs is a good quarterback, if not as much. And he's not an MVP quarterback. Number 2, the rest of the NFC East got better. Number 3, they had a Cinderella season last year. In addition to being the best team in football, they also got lucky in terms of the kind of wave they rode. They were feeling good. They were playing loose. They had never won a Super Bowl in the history of that town, and now they face the pressure of trying to repeat with a media and a fan base that finally got a Super Bowl. It's funny, you would think in Philly, and you know this about Philly fans, Stephen A., having worked at the Inquirer for 17 years, you'd think, oh, they got a Super Bowl. Now they're good for a while. They've waited their entire lives. I know generations of Eagles fans who've lived and some died without having seen them win a Super Bowl. They win a Super Bowl now. That ought to buy them some time. Try this one. Now the pressure is ratcheted up because there is a sense that they got a little lucky and Nick Foles caught lightning in a bottle. But the guy who's really going to deliver them as the best team in football on an ongoing basis is Carson Wentz. The pressure is on him. So Doug Pederson's going to have to deal with these questions.
But listen,
you can't get tested with the media day one
before the season
starts.
Before you respond, because you talked about the O-line, and I get preseason, make of it what you want. They played 3 games. Their quarterbacks have been sacked 17 times. That's alarming to me. Even from the O-line front, Nick Foles sacked 6 times. They've had no TDs, just picks, no rushing TDs. They haven't done anything.
Well, listen, I can understand your concern about that, but I'm going to look at it from this perspective. What I see in preseason are teams and players primarily out there to avoid injury and to try and get themselves in shape. That's the reality of the situation. We want to couch it any old way we want to, but that's really what it comes down to. Let me try to avoid injury, all right, and get myself in the proper condition. I'm not going to prioritize things too much. I'm not going to save my A game or my A effort until it really, really counts. That's number 1. Number 2, again, we're looking at a Carson Wentz right now. We're wondering about him. This is where I'm going with this. You have so much talent, and you acquired Mike Wallace in the offseason to help improve your deep threat because Torrey Smith didn't work out for you. You still kept Zach Ertz, even though you released Brent Zellick. You drafted a kid as a backup tight end in the 2nd round, okay? I'm looking at the rest of the weapons that you have. I'm looking at the NFC East, and think about this, what we're talking about here, because even though we're talking about teams that may have gotten better, we're talking about them offensively. The Giants, better. Offensively, the Dallas Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott back. Des Bryant gone, Jason Witten gone. More speed. You got to worry about them offensively, even though Dallas's defensive line can't be ignored. We look at the Washington Redskins. Alex Smith is there. He's expected to be an upgrade from Kirk Cousins because he's not going to be as turnover prone. You know, they're excited about their running game. They've got some questions because they think they're a bit thin at the offensive line, but all things being considered, the Redskins expect to be better offensively. Well, the Eagles have to go against opposing defenses. I don't hear any team having their defense being bragged about in the NFC East.
Giants defense has looked very good under Betcher. They moved Olivier Vernon, who's out right now, but it's a linebacker, and they're getting
all of that
pressure.
But the reality is that the Giants were so bad last year. We have to sit back and look at them now and say, okay, show us what you got.
Dallas defensive line too, Stephen A.
I can understand that, but what I'm saying to you is you don't get to change your mind because remember, you had a concern about Dallas Giants defense. You sat up here and said weeks ago, listen, they can't get much worse.
Let me say something about preseason. I want to address what you said about preseason.
Sure.
Right. What can you really take away from preseason? Because you are sitting across from a guy. I don't believe that you should ever start anyone in your top 44. Like, just keep them off the field. Just avoid injury. And look at my Giants, what's going on with them now. Concussion, all kinds of.
Oh, Ingram.